千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. I would like to invite you to center your thoughts and direct your attention to this moment in time, to the here and now, to be fully present and mindfully aware as we all ready ourselves for this sacred process in the Tao with one another. We studied Tao Te Ching 3 some time ago, and there was absolutely a reference to that. Here's what it says in 3, line 13. So those who scheme will not dare to meddle. Line 12, right before that, let the people have no cunning and no greed, so those who scheme will not dare to meddle. In the red highlights that you can see there, I've got the corresponding Chinese and English. Now, the third and fourth characters there, 智者, the modern misinterpretation of those two characters would be the wise one or the wise person. And that can make this line very difficult to understand. Why would such a person meddle or not dare to meddle in the first place? If a person is wise, as Lao Tzu would explain, a truly wise person like a sage would not meddle, would not interfere. Therefore, 智者 in the ancient context must not be associated with the positive kind of wisdom. Now, when viewed through this ancient lens, it is consistent with other usage by Lao Tzu. All over the Tao Te Ching, it then becomes very easy to understand. 智者 is actually the opposite of 圣人, that is the sage. Now, in a chapter later on in the Tao Te Ching, 65, we have a similar situation. And I also want to let everybody know it's not just these two examples. Other examples are all over the Tao Te Ching. I'm just focusing on two for the moment. Here in 65, starting on line 4, it says the difficulty of governing people is due to their excessive cleverness. There's that character again, 智. Line 6, therefore, using cleverness to govern the state is being a thief of the state. And here, the character 智 instead of intelligence is translated as cleverness, intending to give it the original negative context as Lao Tzu expressed. Now, in line 5, where it says 智多, it can be misinterpreted as a good thing, like somebody who has a lot of intelligence or wisdom. But then, why would such a ruler be a thief of his own kingdom? That would not make sense. With proper understanding of this character, 智, the negative kind of intelligence, it makes much more sense. A ruler who uses this malicious kind of intelligence is out to deceive, to use trickery, to steal from the people, therefore being a thief of the state. And now you can see exactly how Lao Tzu is using that character, zhi. And that's why the lines say, intelligence comes forth, there is great deception. So intelligence, not always a good thing. Let me talk about intelligence as a tool to go into this topic more deeply. I have two columns here. Contrary to the Tao, aligned with the Tao. Aligned with the Tao would be the positive kind, the positive use of intelligence and wisdom. Contrary to the Tao will be utilizing that same intelligence to hurt, to harm, to benefit oneself. So I want to talk about why. Why is it that some people will use intelligence in such negative ways as to create scams, fraud, grift, and so on? Well, it begins with the erroneous assumption that in our world, the resources are finite. This is the assumption that although the world has abundant resources, it is limited. When we use them up, they're gone. And one example is that the International Energy Agency has estimated we will reach peak oil production around 2030, roughly 6 years from now. It is about that, casting oil as a abundant but finite resource, that leads to the zero-sum mindset. It is the idea that in our world, if I want a bigger slice of pizza, somebody else must have a smaller slice or no pizza at all. My gain has to come from somebody else's loss. And therefore, human intelligence is used to maximize that. Hey, I'm looking out for number one. I'll get more for me. I don't really care what other people end up with. So this is the cause of using intelligence in that negative way. Alignment with the Tao is quite different. Instead of the erroneous assumption, there is enlightened realization. The Tao is unlimited. The infinite nature of the Tao is reflected everywhere for the eyes that knows how to see them. For instance, the human mind sourced in the Tao. Therefore, human creativity, like the Tao, has no boundaries. In the peak oil production scenario, when you look at it from that mindset, that perspective, you would naturally say, well, we can tap into renewable sources of energy, remove the limits, make it limitless, unlimited. And in fact, the shift has already started in our world. So it isn't all chaotic. It isn't all negative. So in this perspective, human intelligence has been leveraged. Remove limitations. Make the pizza as large as we need it to be so everybody can have enough. So back to contrary to the Tao. Intelligence being used in a negative way is all about contention and competition. The thinking is that, well, in life, there are winners and losers. Life is contention. Life is a competition. So I'm going to be a winner. Other people can lose. Intelligence is therefore used in that negative way, malicious way, to achieve victory by defeating other people. What about mindset that's more in alignment with the Tao? Not contention and competition, but collaboration and cooperation, where win-win is always a possibility. There, intelligence, human intelligence, is used to figure out how everybody can benefit. Everybody can get what he or she wants. No one has to be left behind. More importantly, no one has to lose. No one has to be defeated. So this is the contrast. Then, in the contrary to the Tao column, we have a destructive mindset. Tear down others to build up oneself. So the idea is that those who use intelligence in this way will figure out the best way, the fastest way to destroy in order to benefit from the resulting destruction and chaos. Whereas those who use the same human intelligence in a positive way, the mindset is not destructive, but constructive. Create infrastructure to build up society. And we have plenty of examples where things have been built in our world that benefit all. There's physical infrastructure, bridges and roads that facilitate transportation so we can get to where we want to go. There is also technology infrastructure, the communication, the network that I talked about, that we can all utilize for best benefit to learn, to gather information, to further our understanding of the world. So there, intelligence is used to figure out how people can benefit. But then back to contrary to the Tao, there is also obstruction and obfuscation to mix things up, to confuse issues, to mislead and misrepresent the truth. We've all seen plenty of examples of that in our world. Certainly in recent years. And it is not likely to change. These are things that we're talking about that are megatrends that last decades at a time. In alignment with the Tao, it is intelligence being used to illuminate and illustrate, to explain, to clarify, provide clarity, promote the truth. This again benefits everybody. Let me note that in this chapter that we're studying today, the left side, the negative use of intelligence, is what Lao Tzu is trying to convey. This is what happens, he says, when there is calculating shrewdness in the world. We see more and more people using intelligence to prey on other people. That is why Lao Tzu wrote these lines. Intelligence comes forth, there is great deception. So when you see it the way that Lao Tzu intended to convey it, it makes a perfect kind of sense. So part one of the summary, the great Tao has faded. Virtues become less common. It can no longer be taken for granted for people to be good, to be kind, to be fair. And therefore, it is all the more important for us to practice such virtues. We regain the Tao when virtues become second nature to us. Now, Lao Tzu will have much more to say about returning to the Tao in future chapters. But this is the message from the first part of this chapter. Number two, as we have talked about, intelligence becomes a tool for deception. And I spoke of communication, technology, the smartphone, accessing the network. Nowadays, technology is what is probably the first and foremost improving Lao Tzu to be correct. Even though he wrote these words 2,500 years ago, well before technology as we know it today, because Lao Tzu was always addressing human nature and timeless principles, his words are reflecting our reality today. It is sometimes even a little bit scary how Lao Tzu can be so accurate in talking about our world. Now, one thing about deception is that it scales up. There's more and more of it as complexity increases. That is because within complexity, there are opportunities for the misuse of intelligence. And this is why we'll need to be especially careful with privacy and security, especially as we work on all the things that involve communication, all the things that have to do with the network. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.